Excellencies of the United States, United Nations and its member states, honorable mayors, governors, and other leaders of local and regional governments across the world as my brothers and sisters, dear representatives of all stakeholders, my name is Atishi Marlena Singh, and I'm the member of the Legislative Assembly of the National Capital Territory of Delhi, India. I'm honored to address you on behalf of the United Nations Advisory Body of Local Authorities, UNACLA, where I serve in my capacity as the Vice President of ICLAI, Local Governments for Sustainability. At the outset, I would like to commend His Excellency Abdullah Shahid, the 76th President of the United Nations General Assembly, as well as my dear sister Mayor Sharif, as the Executive Director of UN Habitat, in convening this high-level meeting of the United Nations on the review of the new urban agenda. Our meeting today is shadowed by multiple crises: a once-in-a-generation pandemic, intensifying climate emergencies and loss of nature, soaring of our consumption and wastes, deepening inequality across the globe, and more recently, the growing threats of a new world war. All these are backtracking us to reach our globally agreed sustainability goals. But the new urban agenda cannot be ignored. It cannot be ignored for the simple reason that 56% of the world's population now lives in cities. That is approximately 4 billion people. This number is only going to increase with time, and it is projected that by 2050, this number will be at 7 billion, with 70% of the world's population living in cities. Just these numbers present a daunting challenge about how cities are going to accommodate this population while ensuring equity, access to high-quality public services, ecological sustainability, and financial viability. And unless we are able to address all of these challenges in an integrated manner, we are not going to succeed. And unless we all learn from each other, we are not going to succeed. Many of us present here today come from different cities, different countries, and different continents. But the challenges we face have many commonalities. Our cities are growing in size as people move in search of economic opportunity. But how do we ensure that all those who migrate into our cities have access to basic facilities like water, electricity, drainage, roads? How do we ensure high-quality education and healthcare? Because those who migrate into cities largely do not have the financial capability to access private providers of education and healthcare. How do we ensure that as citizens improve their financial situation, their consumption of natural resources does not increase geometrically and become ecologically unsustainable? How do we finance the public services that we need to provide to the residents of our cities? These are challenges that all of us are facing. But the urban world of 21st century offers humanities two unique opportunities: the power of sustainable and integrated urban development and the benefits of multi-level and cooperative action. Since our last meeting with the UN General Assembly in 2017, immediately after Habitat 3, the profile of sustainable urbanization as well as multi-level cooperation within the UN advanced significantly. As one of the first bodies to connect leaders of local and regional governments to the decision makers of the United Nations family since 2000, UNACLA is proud to play an instrumental role in these efforts. We all need to come together to find solutions to the problems and challenges we all face. As a representative of the government of the National Capital Territory of Delhi, I would like to share some parts of our journey in trying to deal with these challenges. Delhi is a city with a population of 30 million people, more than many countries of the world. It has a population density of 11,000 people per square kilometer. And this is the reason that I feel that Delhi's journey is important. Because if we can find solutions given the scale and the population of the city, then I feel that other cities can too. My government came into power in Delhi in 2015. The party that I belong to came out of an anti-corruption movement. The multiple crises that faced the city of Delhi and the hope that a new political party brought with it led us to huge electoral success. We won 67 out of the 70 seats in the Legislative Assembly. But this meant that the pressure to deliver on electoral promises was very high. We faced a challenging situation. Delhi had some of the highest electricity tariffs in the country. Financial health of power distribution companies was in the red, and therefore power infrastructure was declining. Power cuts was something that all residents of Delhi began to consider a part of their lives. Only 50% of the city had access to piped water supply, and Delhi Jal Board, the government water utility, was in the red. Only 40% of the city had access to proper sewerage and drainage. Much of the city was labelled as unauthorized, and therefore no basic infrastructure was being set up there by the governments. Public schools were failing, with crumbling infrastructure and teachers being used as freely available human resource for government grassroots tasks. Anyone who could afford to send their children to private schools was doing so. Government healthcare systems had the same story. And heavy investments in public services seemed difficult as the state budget was in a fiscal deficit. This was the situation in 2015. Fast forward 5 years. In 2020, electricity. Delhi by 2020 had the lowest electricity tariffs in the whole country. We ensure 24/7 electricity. 4 million households in Delhi every month now get a zero electricity bill. The financial health of power distribution companies is improving. And despite increase in access to 24/7 electricity, the increase in electricity demand and therefore natural resources has been minimal. 80% of the city now gets piped water supply, and the public water utility is for the first time since its inception no longer in the red. 80% of the city now has proper sewerage lines. Public schools have been getting better results than private schools for the last 4 years. In the last academic year, 2 million students shifted from private schools to public schools. A primary healthcare model called Mohalla clinics are providing free healthcare to citizens at low cost to the government. And now Delhi is the only regional subnational government in India that does not have a fiscal deficit. The budget of the Delhi state government in 5 years went from 300 billion to 600 billion, an almost doubling of the revenue of the state budget. Is this magic? No. This is the political will of an honest government combined with well-designed policies and an efficient policy delivery mechanism. Has the journey come to an end? Have all problems been solved? No, they have not. But the fact that this journey has begun is what gives me hope. Delhi faces greater challenges than many other cities of the world.
30 seconds.
But if Delhi can walk this journey of transformation, then so can all other cities across the globe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.